Going live. Hey, we are live, gang.
We do it live.
Welcome to Hold My Beer. We're talking freight. We are back. Me and Tony. We got Coleman Ruffin with us. We got, yep. We got Trey Griggs. And we got Jennifer Carpenter Romaine. How are you guys?
Big tails.
So let's start off the show right. We have a
good,
question going
I heard.
Nutter butters.
Good. Yep.
Peanut shaped or wafer?
Wafer, without a doubt. Nutter butter wafers.
Nutter butter
I
wafers.
might be controversial. I like the peanut shaped ones.
Yeah, I think I would have to. I like them both,
Yeah.
but if I had to kick one off the planet and keep one, I would keep the peanut butter shaped.
Wow, we're kicking
Yeah,
stuff
me
off
too.
the planet now. Jeez. Oh,
Well,
Tony and I are together on this, but TJ's the determining vote.
Yeah, I like the peanut shaped one.
Wow,
No.
man.
Let's
That's a
go.
mistake. That's a mistake.
Kind of reminds me of my head.
You don't know what you're missing
Well,
out
I
on.
like them because you can, if you want the harder crunch, then you can just eat it plain. But if you want it a little softer, you can dip it in your milk. It's more,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, it's a two dipper because of the shape.
Yep.
It's perfect.
Hard hitting
I mean,
questions.
yeah.
The only hard hitting questions and answers that you want here on Hold
That's
My
right.
Beer.
Hold nothing
That's
back.
all.
Hold nothing back.
That's how we're
Get into the
starting.
root- Get into the roots, man. What's the topic today, Peach?
Topic is everything Tony. So we're just gonna dive into your
That's a
life
terrible topic.
Hey, I've seen him play golf before.
and
Let's talk about
No.
that.
Let's not talk about that.
Well, I could talk about
Hey,
the
here's-
first time I met Tony, in which I said, "Hi, welcome to TMSA. Here's my room key. This is what my husband looks like. Please give it to him when you leave." And then just walked away because it was I needed to find the the TMSA, all of the packages of all of the swag, and I was just sitting there talking to him like, "You look."
The level of trust in that moment, the
And then
level of
as I
trust in
was
that
getting it,
statement.
I was like, I just literally gave
Here's
the
my
man, like,
room key.
I just met my room key and was like, showed him a picture of Doug on my phone and was like, search for this man. But he did it. And then he
Yeah.
found Doug.
That
That tells you,
know.
that tells you everything you need to know about
Doug was
Tony.
awesome.
That tells you
And Doug
everything you
was
need to know.
awesome too.
Yeah, I was like, this is my husband. He will be walking in with my son. And it was almost perfectly timed. But then the man who was walking me to the boxes was like, we need to go now. I'm like, yes, sir. And so that was my problem solved.
That's awesome. That
Was a great event too. I wish I could have gone this year. Things changed. Life changed. We're on a new track here, and just wasn't able to get out to the conference.
Well, it's coming back around.
I was
in
like,
10
well,
months.
Trey didn't come this year either.
That's right. I bailed.
So-
I bounced.
But Coleman came and emceed for me.
Holding down the fort.
He did.
Hold
I
down
know.
the fort.
I might not have that gig next anymore. I might be.
Yeah,
might be
we'll
out.
see. We'll
Did
see.
you give your place for the younger version?
I might. I might be replaced.
Well, why don't we have Coleman? Why don't you introduce yourself, Coleman, and give a little background, and then we'll have Jennifer and then Trey, all three of you guys. I mean, everybody knows who you guys are, but still, just a good thing to always do to start a show off here.
He's a
100%.
dad.
Yeah, I'm
He's a dad
officially a
now.
dad as of 3 weeks ago. So that's why I've got my dad hat. And we were talking about this actually in the green room. I don't know who sent this to me. Somebody sent me this and didn't have who it was from or anything like that. So if anybody's watching,
Is that
let
what
me
you
know
know?
so I can. Exactly. It was
Dude,
you.
yes. That was
Oh,
one of the
well,
things I mailed you from Amazon. Yes.
Well, good job. Not at all
Well,
surprised
thanks.
you didn't note who it was from either.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
very
Well, thanks,
on track
Trey.
for both
I
of you.
appreciate it.
I sent him a
Thank you so
couple. We sent him a couple of things. That one came separate, and he probably was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, cool."
That's why.
Well, we were shopping for
Thank you.
something else, and I saw that, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get him that."
I like it. Coleman Ruffin, I'm the VP of Operations over here at Beta Consulting Group. I've been within the supply chain and logistics space for over a decade, which sounds just a fancy way of saying 10 years, which is absolutely nuts. Started out at C.H. Robinson, was in sales on the commercial side of things, landing business. Then I moved into an L&D role where I trained all of the new people that came in through their flagship office. So throughout my tenure there, I probably trained upwards of 500 to 600 new hires. And then over the course of that entire career, probably trained over 1,000 people from, entry level to more senior level. Moved out here to Denver with my now wife and I, and joined a recruiting company and that specifically focused within supply chain. So again, recruited talent all the way from entry level all the way to the C-suite executives and anything and everything in between. And joined Beta full time, just coming up on a year now, over a year, right around that time frame. So
I know.
I've been here for a while. And I do have one question actually, really quick, before I pass it over to Jennifer. The show is called Hold My Beer. Can I have a beer?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just
Yeah.
in water.
Okay.
Yeah, when we first
Just one arm.
started, when we started, we were live on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
That's how we always have been. And so, the first forever, we always had a beer. It was always a super type of beer you had.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, it's 5 o'clock in England, so cheers.
Yeah, I know.
There you go.
I was thinking about it. I got the cooler.
Yeah.
I got the cooler ready.
The name came from that Twitter account where you watch people do crazy things.
Dude, crazy things like hold my beer. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
We're like, hey, check this out. We can try this. Let's get into
So-
podcasting.
You guys
Okay,
can't
well, me-
podcast. Oh yeah, hold my beer. Here we go.
When me and Brandon Bay and Tony, we were thinking about the name of it. We also were like, we gotta have something that has like a good like acronym too, like to go with it. So the HMB, WTF, the WTF part really sold it for us.
So
Oh yeah.
So it always works
everything,
out.
logistics. Everything logistics is summed up with that one.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Jennifer, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I am Jennifer Carpus Romaine, and I am the executive director at the Transportation Marketing and Sales Association. I am still in my caffeinated part of my day. We'll switch to not beer because I don't like beer. Sorry. I drink many other alcoholic beverages, but no beer. Why are you thumbs downing me?
Beer is great.
Gross.
Love you. Love everything else about you, but the beer is great.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's never deterred me from nights out. It's
Handle
fine.
That's right. That's
Um,
right.
I have been in this role since the tail end of 2021. I was a TMSA partner member prior to taking on the leadership role here, and I sold like software integration, CRM type things, and one of our target markets was transportation. So I came in as a member and just really fell in love with TMSA. I was serving on like the education committee, the marketing committee, the board of directors, and as we knew, the previous management company was looking to kind of offset it. I was kind of like, well, what happens if I just do that? And like threw my hat in the ring, and they accepted it. And it's been, it seems crazy to think I'm coming up on my 3-year anniversary here at TMSA, both because it feels like it's been one day and a million at the same time. So it's really interesting, but it keeps me on my toes. We're always doing new things, and we've been celebrating our 100-year anniversary here at TMSA this year. So this year's event was definitely big and like over the top. Yes. And we like our award night, we had like a Mardi Gras theme because we were in New Orleans, and Coleman did ask me if he was allowed to drink a beer before he did the award banquet portion. And I was like, I'm not your mother, as long as you can still pronounce words, which he then couldn't. For one of them.
Yeah. Okay. One word out of like, let's say 10,000 of them, I messed up. It burned in my memory.
It was very funny, but he did a great job. So yeah, that is me in a nutshell. And I love Halloween, and that's why I'm already drinking from a Halloween mug.
Oh, Halloween's legit.
Halloween early, like 2 months.
2 months of awesomeness is where I'm at.
Yes.
Trey,
All right,
Trey,
Trey.
give us there's unfortunately a lot of people, unfortunately everybody knows you. I mean, I guess it's a good thing.
Unfortunately, for sure.
But besides getting that sweatshirt at the last Jewel concert, what's give us a little background on what you got going.
Well, I'm Trey. I've got spiky hair, and I've got 2 daughters, and I am a big fan of Jewel. Really big fan of Jewel. So I have sweatshirts, I've got hats, I've got ties, I got all kinds of stuff with her on.
She's
it.
got tie.
It's just do what?
She's got tie.
She's
You have ties. She has tie. Ty, who was her husband.
yeah, I have ties.
See,
Yeah,
Tony's jokes.
yeah,
Tony's jokes
yeah.
are always just
Dad jokes.
Dad
I don't know her husband. Goodness. Anyways, I am the founder and chief encouragement officer of Beta Consulting Group, working with Coleman over here. I guess I should do that. And we focus on helping companies with their sales, marketing, and recruiting efforts, just like in consulting with the things that we have in our past. So a lot of fun stuff there, helping companies to move the ball forward in sales. I love the podcast as well. So when you guys are like, hey, come on the show, it's like, why not? Got to do that. And that, I don't know, it's about it. Love to play golf. Love doing musicals. I've spent the night at Jennifer's house. Cool stuff.
My family was home. He had his own room. We talked about your context.
Yeah.
What you need to put in there.
I love providing no context when I say things.
No,
about it.
he
That's
does
very
this
good.
all the time, and it sounds
All the
awful.
time.
He
All
There
the
was this
time.
one time Jennifer gave me her hotel key.
A whole
Well, yeah. I mean, it can't be any worse than that, right? No, I got to go to Cleveland for a barbershop convention this summer, and her and Doug allowed me to use their guest bedroom and their vehicles, which is really nice.
yeah.
And so we had a great time. We went and got ice cream with Monroe. Had a lot of fun. But it's just more fun when I say I spent the night at your house and just leave it.
It's not fun for me.
I think it is.
That's pretty fun.
One
You've
time,
spent the night-
do you want
No,
to
you
know the
haven't spent
worst
the night
thing
in my
he's
house.
ever said to somebody out of context? He told someone that we had just met that we do things that I don't do with my husband, and then walked away. And I said, "Can you never, ever do things like that again?"
That's great.
And the answer is no. The answer is no. I will do that again. We have a good time. And you know what's cool is that I didn't know. It's funny because TMSA has been an organization I think historically speaking has actually not done a great job of marketing themselves. They weren't really well known in the industry. When Jen came along, that's when things changed, and she's done a phenomenal job with that. And it's actually when we met as well. We got connected with from one of our friends, Andrew Golison, here in St. Louis, connected us and said, "Hey, I think that you guys could do something together." And so we talked, and it was like, "Yeah, I'd love to be a part of what you're doing here." And so it's been fun to be on that journey. But she's definitely elevated the status and notoriety of TMSA in the last 2.5 years, without a doubt.
Elevate. I get it. I
Facts.
saw what you did there.
Yes, thank you.
No, I love it. And I think that's a great, when you really look at, kind of what this show talks. I mean, we talk a lot about, we go into operations, we go into, the shipping side, some things like that, but we tend to kind of hover around a lot of marketing and sales. And I think it's just one of those things that is always, somebody's always trying to solve it and get better at it compared to a lot of other things. So
TJ,
Tony,
you look distracted. What's with the new camera angle and not looking at it?
I was going to bring that up, but I thought maybe I'd slide through. So I got back from, I went to my son's first year of middle school. So I got invited to go to have lunch with him. It was really cool. I mean, I coach a lot of the kids that are there, in baseball and stuff. And so they thought it was cool to have all the old guys. I was called old man like 2 or 3 times. But it was fun. So I got back and I went right into the garage. I have like a little garage office back here in the corner. And hopped on thinking like everybody's gonna be waiting on me, but I forgot you guys are kind of transitioning over. So this is where I was set up. Yeah, it's kind of a weird.
I feel like I'm hearing a cricket, and that makes more sense if you're in your garage.
Do you
Is there
hear
a cricket in
crickets?
there?
I
Yeah,
wondered if that
I
was
hear
going to be an issue. I can't find it. I don't know where he's at. He's driving me nuts.
You know what I love about this show? This show is more amateur hour than our show, even, which I didn't think was possible.
Yeah, I
But I
know.
love
We have more viewers.
Come
We
on.
have more viewers.
Get a
So
leaf.
Yeah, crickets in the background. That's so awesome. I love it.
I think I'm gonna have to mute in between when I'm not talking.
No. I want you to ask a question, and I want none of us to say anything for a while, just so the crickets go. That's what I want to see happen here on the show.
Okay, listen, hang on, stop.
Actual crickets.
Oh, he just stopped. All right, never mind.
Now he's
So
just messing with you.
He'll be back. He's back.
with you guys coming on and all, I want to learn a little bit here. Okay. So, I know a lot about like different conventions and organizations and stuff, not a ton about TMSA. And that also transitioned even to what Trey and Coleman do. I mean, like, just in general for Beta. Tony, what was your experience like there? And because I know you know more about it, and then we kind of let that roll into, let everybody else kind of give their takes on just the value of it.
Okay, so I got invited and I didn't know what to say. So I called up Trey and I'm like, "Hey, what's this all about? What should I do?" And he's like, "Dude, I'll be there. I'm emceeing it. It's fantastic. You got to go." So I'm like, "All right, trusted
That sounds like what I
advisor."
would say. That sounds right. That sounds about right.
So I go and I was on the shippers panel with a couple other guys that were enterprise shippers, big company. And
Yeah, Tony from Scott's, Tony Bados, and
Yep.
yeah, another Tony. Yeah. Remember that.
Jennifer told me, she warned me, she said, "Be careful because this is going to become like a family and people will embrace you." And I still talk to a lot of the people that I met there. I still interact with them a lot. And it was fantastic. I can't say enough positive. It's probably the best conference I've ever been to.
Wow.
I
Raving
didn't tell him to
review.
say that, Jen. Didn't tell him. Did not tell him to say that.
And I can echo some of that sentiment too. Like me being newer to that organization and understanding what it's all about, it really is different than a lot of, if not every conference that you'll experience out there. Right. I think that you go to conferences every single time with the sole purpose of, okay, I need to land business and just talk to X, Y, and Z. Right. Is there business to be had? Sure. But I think that this is one of the conferences that is the easiest to talk to people. Like I've never been to a conference where people are actually coming up to me without the intent of trying to sell me something, and just learn and network and really try to have that network of people that are trying to get better in sales and marketing from whatever aspect it is. So it feels like they take the pressure off of people from going in and feeling like you have to accomplish X, Y, Z. And it's really about creating that learning and collaboration environment. So it's a breath of fresh air, I would like to say, from a traditional type of conference. So kudos to you and the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And my take on TMSA was I'd never been before. It's funny. I'd been in sales in most of my career. And as I'd said, I didn't know much about TMSA. It was just one of those kind of organizations that I'd heard a little bit about it, but just didn't know much about it. Which people don't say that now. They know what TMSA is now. It's a drastic difference. So I remember going to it, really not knowing what to expect. And what I felt there was very similar to what you guys are talking about. But the spirit of collaboration at TMSA was like unlike anything I'd ever seen before. I was new in the game in terms of like having my own business and sales consulting, marketing consulting, and helping companies in that realm. And man, everybody who essentially is kind of a competitor in some ways were incredibly helpful for me. And how can I help you? Could we partner up? Just whatever the conversation was, it was really, really good. And not only that, but just the opportunity to hear from people that are on the front lines, that are using the technology that a lot of us didn't know about. Just hearing those types of things. The workshops were great, but the people is what it's all about. The people at TMSA are second to none. That was my take, without a doubt.
Well, I had no idea what we were going to be talking about today. I just agreed to come on.
You didn't know we were highlighting TMSA today.
Let's do it. But I will sit and listen to other people talk about TMSA all the time. So I was a member, and then I wanted to take the leadership role because everything of what you guys are talking about, like the collaborative spirit, the awesome educational track, the networking, even if people are competitors, having real conversations with each other, everyone trying to make the industry better. That is the core of TMSA, and it's what has always been the core of TMSA. What I wanted to do is amplify that message and let people know about it. What are we doing? We're here. And so part of that has been, getting a new website, a new member portal, appearing on all these different types of podcasts and talking about it, and just really working to amplify the messaging. And then also bringing fun into it. And it's always been fun, but I'm just not a stuffy person. I don't know how to be a professional all the time. I'm not great at that. So I just knew that if I was going to lead, I wanted to lead as a human first, and to be that way all the time. And that has gotten me to do like really stupid things in front of big groups of people, such as last year in 2023, we got to go to the Savannah Bananas game ahead of conference, which was really awesome. And what I did there was then throw the first banana, but needing to be blindfolded and find the banana before I could throw it. And then we had the Savannah Bananas come. They were opening keynote in 2023. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, why did I do this for year 99? Like, what are we supposed to do for the 100 year? And so my answer to that was, you know what I should do? I should sing publicly in front of the entire audience and use that as a way to tell the story of TMSA and all of the name changes and all of the ebbs and flows that TMSA has had in the market. I sang Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka. And I had a really awesome hat I wore, and I went on stage and I actively sang, and we had more.
Crushed it, by the way.
Thank you. Coleman then I announced Coleman to come on. He's like, that's what I'm coming on after.
Great.
Yeah,
So
thanks for musical.
And our opening keynote this year was the power of storytelling. So I'm like, how can we talk about the power of storytelling? How can we tell our own story? How can we do things differently? And that was my answer to that, which I thought was a really great idea until like 4 days before, like when I was leaving for conference and realizing that I was in fact about to sing in front of like 200 plus people. That I didn't think that was such a good idea anymore. But those are the element, like being your most authentic self, not being afraid to take risks. And like, that's part of why I did that, because then after I did it, I encouraged the people who were there, like, take your risks, ask the questions, be vulnerable. Like, we're all afraid to like not look stupid all the time, but we're never going to grow or be our best selves if we don't be stupid sometimes and ask those questions and get advice for people. Or if you're newer to the industry, there's people who are in the room who've been in freight for decades. Like, they're so approachable. Like Coleman was saying, like, I've never been in a place where people just like want to talk all the time. Like, we had a session, me and Coleman did the last session of the day together. By that point, I had no voice, and he was like, "You can take the lead." And I'm like, "I can't talk, man." But we encouraged people,
which is also it's pretty common at every conference, is that by the end of the conference, Jen has no voice.
I have no voice.
That's
I'm going to next year. Here's a reminder for Team Beta.
You are not.
Tell me to bring like throat spray so that I'm better.
Honey, lemon, water, throat spray.
I mean, normally I'm on stage with my tea and honey, like that's how I get through it. But we sat there and we encouraged people to think through, like, what did you learn at conference and what do you actually want to implement? Who are 3 people that you met and want to engage with that you can continue to learn from? And then they were sitting at their tables and we said, pitch your idea. Like, if you're going back to the office and your goal is to implement this thing, how are you going to approach your boss? Tell the person sitting next to you. And we watched an entire room of people who've been in New Orleans for days and nights actively sit there and talk, to the point where we had to like make them stop because like conference was over and we had to like usher them out of the room.
Yeah, they want to clean up. So
yeah, that to me, like, that is the power of like really building a community and being together and having real conversations and not being afraid to continue to engage. So that was me just rambling for 5 minutes. But
well, I will add on to this that there are limits to Jen's risk taking, and I often reach them. In fact,
because you are,
I asked in 2023. No, I asked in 2023. So listen, Tony, we were at the Savannah Bananas game, and I went into their merch store. And they had a pair of whitey tidy underwears with Savannah Bananas logo on the front. And I'm like, we got to do something with that. So I bought them. And I went to Jen. I'm like, dude, can I wear these on stage? She's like, absolutely not. So she did not let me do it. This was her, this is part of they blindfold you, get you on all fours, and you have to crawl around listening to the crowd telling you where to go to get the banana, and then she had to throw it. And so, and I will say this, she made a killer throw. Throw. I did not know she had that kind of arm, but she has a great arm.
Banana strike.
Banana strike. It was impressive. And she's the first person. She's the first person to discover the banana going backwards. So she instead of turning around and going forward, she just went backwards when the crowd was talking to her, and she went over it and got it. Pretty impressive.
The first pitch for the Savannah Bananas is you're not throwing a ball. You're throwing
That's right.
Banana.
It's a banana.
Correct. And it's a real, they spray paint the banana. It's a real banana and they spray paint it gold.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yes, everyone, I had questions after that. People are like, how did you move so fast? And you threw a banana strike. I don't understand. And I'm like, well, I played sports my whole life. I was a goalie in soccer. So
and you practiced with the banana. Let's tell the people
not
the
like
truth.
a ton, but like enough. And I played like softball growing up.
You went out and threw some bananas in the backyard.
One time. I did it one time because Monroe wanted to throw bananas at a tree. And I said, okay.
Don't blame this on Monroe. Don't blame it on Monroe. Don't
Practiced
do that.
in the yard with Monroe.
So,
I remember that.
So let's go a little bit like Trey at Beta right now. When you look at your clients and what you're working with, you and Coleman here, what right now, I guess, because you look at a lot of different struggles, a lot of different changes, things that are happening in the market, in different types of roles. But what are you guys seeing from your end? Has it been a positive, a negative? Is it increased or helped business? I mean, how does it work on the consulting side of things? Because it's not alpha, it's beta. So I didn't know exactly how you guys approached it.
Yeah, there's crickets still. All right. So great question. Well, in this type of a cycle, where rates are depressed because there's capacity still too much, and we're starting to see it change a little bit. But when that happens, nobody has money, extra money, a lot of discretionary spending. Or if they do have it, they're looking to maybe take advantage of the market by doing an acquisition, maybe consolidation. Like that's a better kind of maybe use of the capital that they might have. And so what you end up seeing is that budgets get cut, budgets get really tight. And unfortunately, one of the first one that often goes is the marketing budget, which I don't agree with, but I understand why people do it because they think marketing is a cost center. But what we're trying to help people understand is that marketing and sales are synonymous. Like you cannot sell something without doing marketing. Let me give you an example. Some people would say, no, I'm just going to hire salespeople and I'm going to have them, cold call people. Well, cold calling, even though done by a salesperson, is a marketing activity. You are letting people know about your company and your service, and they're not a buying cycle. They don't even know who you are. It's no different than if you sent them a cold email or if they saw you on a social media post or something like that. So we're helping companies understand that sales and marketing are synonymous, and we're helping companies because everybody right now wants sales. They're like, oh, I want sales. No time for marketing. That doesn't make sense. You have to do both to get sales, like to get revenue in the door. You have to have an approach that puts them all together. So what we're doing is we're helping companies with their approach. We're helping them understand that. And then we're helping them put the best possible sales engine in play, what that looks like. How can they use their customer's voice to help sell their products and create social proof? How can they put that in play? How can they create a website experience where a prospect knows exactly what you do? When your website is very clear about what you do, a prospect will self-qualify and it saves you time and it speeds up the process. If they qualify and say, yes, this is what I want, then it speeds up the sales process. If they disqualify themselves because they say this is not what I want, because it's so clear, it saves you time. And so people don't understand the value of putting in the sales engine to speed up their sales. They often just think I'm going to invest in sales guys. And what you're doing is you're just using their network, which again, that does work faster, but it's not long lasting because people's networks are only so big and people only have so much time to network when they're selling. If you want them on sales calls, they have less time to network. So putting this engine together allows them to stay more in the sales seat while you're constantly bringing people in and letting them know about what you do. And in a down market is the best time to invest in that, because when things turn up, when things go well, you want to be top of mind. You want to be what everybody sees, who they think about. You want to be the go-to whenever they do that. So being a thought leader, showing off your expertise, having your customers speak on your behalf, making sure your brand is out there and it's very recognizable. It's a good, clean logo, whatever it is. Like those things all matter in the psyche and the minds of a buyer. And so our job is to help them see that and to help them understand that. I always tell people there's 3 things every company should be doing at all times. They should be marketing their services and products. They should be selling them, and they should be recruiting great talent. And those are the areas that we're working with them to make sure that they understand and have a strategy in place to actually do those things.
And adding on to that too, I think that the biggest thing that we've seen is just the frame of reference in terms of what people are saying that they want. So Trey hit the nail on the head where, hey, we need to increase sales. Okay, when the market is a little bit easier, they're like, okay, now we need to recruit great talent, or now we need to do this, now we need to do that. This whole thing, everything is working together. And when you're building a brand, it affects everything. Right. So again, people are coming to you for sales. If you have a great brand, I can almost promise you recruiting talent is going to be so much easier. I mean, a brand that I always think of is like Freight Bond. Everybody knows who they are, and they've done a great job of marketing who they are and what their company is all about. I can guarantee that they have an easier time recruiting a lot of talent as opposed to some of the other companies that are out there.
They've spent $0 on recruiting when a lot of other brokerages that are growing have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on recruiting to get the best talent, and it's because of their brand. Absolutely.
Exactly. So the biggest thing that we've seen is just like what people are saying they need, even though in our opinion, all of that is still synonymous. It's just talking about how what we are doing is affecting that specific aspect of their business.
So let me ask you this. Sorry, Jen, this is just Trey and Coleman because I'm going off on a tangent with them. Have you ever been approached to market something that you didn't necessarily believe in? Like company X comes into you and says, hey, we're crap, but we want you to market us too. So what's your response? How do you deal with that?
Well, so this is interesting. It's a great question, Tony. One of the things that we do as a part of our process of working with clients is really understanding their business. Like, how do you make money? What do you actually do? Is it good? Because I'm a sales guy at heart. I mean, I've spent my entire career in transportation in sales. Obviously, now as a business owner, sales is a big part of what I do. So over a decade of being in this industry to sell stuff, and I've been in the situation where I sold a product that didn't work, and it was miserable, and it was not good. And I think that far too often companies are really focused and do a good job of marketing something, but don't do a good job of actually making a good product. We call that lipstick on a pig. So that's unfortunately happens a lot. If somebody were to come to me and say, hey, please market this, the first question I'm going to ask is, tell me about your product. Tell me about your service. What does it do? Let me talk to your customers. So one of the first things we do when we audit and when we work with companies, especially with their messaging, we want to hear from their customers. Does this actually work? Is this actually a good product? If you don't have customers that will speak positively, that's not good. I was actually just talking to a tech company recently, and they were telling me about their process and what they do. And essentially, they are putting a gun to the head of one segment of the marketplace to pay them money. It's how their business works out. I won't get into the details, but that's what they're doing. And I pointed that out to them. I said, they started the call with, we're really facing an uphill battle. It's been really hard. And I was like, well, tell me what you do. And so he told me what he did. And I said, do you realize that you're forcing this segment of the market to pay you, or else they're getting dinged. They're actually getting penalized if they don't pay you. And of course they're having trouble with that. Of course, that's not a good product or service. You're not actually serving them. And so a part of our consulting also comes into, is your product good? Like, where are the blind spots that maybe you're not seeing because you're so close to the product or service? And that happens in every business. And so part of our consulting has a little bit of business consulting wrapped into it, but you have to have a great product in order to have great sales and marketing. If you don't have a great product, you might market it and even sell it a little bit, but it won't last. A great marketing strategy and sales strategy gets you in the door. A great product or service keeps you there. So they go hand in hand, and we encourage people to do that. Yeah, Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I've worked in marketing agencies before, so I can add myself into the conversation.
Yeah.
But I think
we should change the name of that, by the way. We worked in sales and marketing agencies. See, that's another thing too. We got to change this. Like we're separating it sometimes, and we got to bring them together. And I'm as guilty as anybody.
It was a marketing agency I worked at, so
they help people with sales. I'm saying that, but I think that's part of the problem, though, is that
there needs to be alignment. But I think the biggest thing is when you're looking at your sales and marketing and you're judging if it's successful, a big piece of that is, what you're selling and marketing actually what your company does or can't. Like, I feel like that's one of the big disconnects is we need to be aligned at the company level, all of the pieces. Because if you're marketing, so say you want to
use us, use Beta, for example, if you want. We can
I can't,
right.
But I'm just thinking from a company level. So, say your marketing team is like, you know what, let's build a marketing campaign around our cold shipment capabilities. And so you build this whole marketing campaign, and then your sales team is like, we have no capacity there. Why are you building a marketing campaign for a segment that we don't have capacity at? But no one told marketing there's no capacity at it. Or then say the salesperson is like, I really want to hit my quota for the quarter, so I'm going to do this really big deal. And then the account managers are like, excuse me, we don't have capacity for that. Why are you selling something we don't have capacity for? So I feel like there's a big disconnect, and you need to be able to do that. And it's the same on if you flip it and you think about recruitment and you think about retaining your employees. What is the HR who's ever in charge of recruitment posts and trying on your social, what are you promoting? And the things that you're promoting, do you actually do? Because if you're selling a company culture and your company culture isn't actually that thing, people are going to leave very quickly. And then they're going to be saying things about you on the internet that you're not going to like. And part of that is just because it's a misalignment of what you're saying you do or what your culture is like or benefits or whatever, and then what actually happens. So I feel like that's why everyone should talk to each other more and have real organic conversations internally. So that way, a marketing person should always go on sales calls and should always be shadowing other departments, because if you are putting the messaging out, you need to, that was when I started at the tech firm I worked at before TMSA. The first thing I did, my boss was like, I want to go to trade shows and get more leads. I'm like, great, you're coming to all the trade shows with me. And he's like, why? I'm like, because I have to hear you talk about your business. I have to hear every 2 to 30-minute pitch that you're giving about this business, so all of our marketing can align to what you're saying.
Yeah. We just talked about this on Word on the Street. Scott Watanabe, who's a sales trainer, was sales trainer. He's now moved up into a different role right now with Armstrong Transport Group. He was talking about this. They make their new sales hires go book loads and be in ops for a while so that they understand the process when they get into sales calls. Marketing is no different. Put your marketing people in that role and let them feel what it's like to try to book a truck or to be a part or sit next to it or be on a sales call, like you said, or other parts of the business to really understand that. There's definitely a lot of misalignment internally in terms of messaging and understanding the mission, the vision of the company. This is why we talk about that whenever we work with companies, because a really clear mission and vision aligns the entire company and core values. These are the things that we hire and fire over. And everybody starts moving in the same direction if there's alignment internally, like Jen said. It's really critical. And a lot of times they don't have that, which is also often why externally they don't have alignment either.
So how do you, my question has always been, so, I remember dealing with that and being a big proponent of it because, between our recruiters and our marketing, it bothered me. I mean, that nobody else saw it, that I'm like, what are we marketing this for? Like what I'd see an ad on LinkedIn, like, what is that for? Like guys, or, they recruit people in and they'd be like, oh, they recruit in for this role or this position. I'm like, I don't need that. I'm trying to fill a spot here, and do you actually know what that is? And so I got them involved. I got them out sitting and understanding those things. But my thing, I guess I've always wondered this, especially with like a marketing or a sales or even recruiting and what you guys do. If you come into a company, and I've seen it so many times, and I know some of them that are still out there that market, how great of a company they are, what a great culture they have, this and that, and all this BS. But it's just not the truth. And I feel like a lot of times if these companies have that mindset, they go out, they hire a third party, they hire an outside person to come in and they say, all right, this is what you want to market. You want to market your culture, this, and this. They put it all together, but nothing actually changed internally with that company. So you're marketing yourself as something that you're not so I guess my question is how often do you guys get involved in the actual, like, hey, if we're going to market this and this, because this is what you want to do, right? This is where you want to go with it. There's changes that got to be made. Like you actually have to follow along with it, what we're marketing. Do many companies allow you to do that, or they just say, hey, this is what we have, market what we have?
No, it's a great question. I think that it depends on the client for sure. Business owners especially, but leaders who are self-aware often recognize that they're not aligned and want help with that. And so we do get to help with that. And there's a lot of collaboration around that and whatnot. But there are some companies where there's really an identity crisis, and sometimes that's hard. If there's an identity crisis and the leadership knows there is, then it's easier. If there's an identity crisis and leadership doesn't recognize that, it's not going to be a good.
Or recognizes it, but needs to be willing to change.
Right.
Yeah, that's it too.
We've seen that too. Like, if you're like, okay, yeah, but that's fine. Just keep saying this, and you're like, no, like that's not.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that.
Say it again. Sorry. How often do you come across places where, if you say it long enough and hard enough, everybody will believe it and get on board? How often do you come across that?
That's general communication, like 101, is that you do want to say things multiple times so that people get on board. But it sounds like what you're saying is that people might get on board with the wrong message or might get on board with what's not reality. That's a good question. I mean, I think what we find more than anything, Tony, that's pretty rare. What we find more than anything is there's been a huge lack of emphasis or even intentionality behind who they are and how they're talking about who they are, both internally and externally. And so a lot of times there's just not much at all. A lot of times when you hire salespeople, you tell them a little about what you do, and then you kind of let them figure out their own story and messaging for how to sell it. And that usually doesn't work well. You might get one guy who nails it, but everybody else is struggling and can't get it done. And there's really no consistency. And the other thing too, is to think about this, is that when markets change, the way that you speak and the way that you market and the way that you talk about what you're doing also needs to change as well. In a good market, I mean, Tony, you know this, as a former shipper and as a broker, in a good market, a shipper needs something different than in a bad market.
Yeah.
Like they need something different. And so if you have the same message in every market, you're also going to miss out as well. So I think there's just a lack of intentionality to have this top of mind of how are we communicating internally? How are we communicating externally? And is everybody on the same page with that? I think more times than not, probably I would say 95 out of 100 times that we talk to somebody, there's no alignment. There's no intentionality behind it because we're just trying to run this business. We're just trying to keep it going. And the founders kind of let it, help it kind of stay together
And I
What do
think
you got?
when you're thinking about any implementation, whether you're talking about a sales strategy, a marketing strategy, operations, new tech, it's always like TJ, you were asking before, like, do companies let you come in? I think one of the biggest mistakes companies do is you hire a marketing or sales consultant to do a project, to build a strategy, and then you're like, I got this from here, and then they go to implement it, and there's no ongoing support that you're doing with the partner.
Right.
So that's something that, like, when I worked in tech, I saw all the time. People are like, okay, cool, thank you, you built this new infrastructure, this is awesome, we got this. I'm like, excuse me, your employees are not going to give a shit, sorry, about this new thing. If you just explain it to them one time and think they got it, they're always going to go back to the way they understand, because if they don't click this button enough, they're not going to remember the buttons there. And same with your sales and marketing strategy. If you're not, like, if you don't have the internal capacity to continue to evolve that strategy over time, or to check it, or if you don't have buy-in from the higher level or from the lowest level or whatever, you have to have a good partner that can keep training, keep evolving, keep shifting those messaging as the market changes.
Yeah,
it's
and
not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process.
I think fractional leadership in those areas are becoming really popular. It's another way for saying ongoing consulting, but having a fractional leader who's more engaged on a long-term basis. And I think it's really wise, because what is consulting really at the end of the day? It's coaching. It's coaching. And when you think about the greatest athletes and the greatest organizations and the greatest singers and the greatest actors and people who do really great things, they all have a coach, because they all recognize that a coach is going to see things and help in ways that I can't help myself. And that's why they do that. I mean, Tiger Woods is the best golfer that's ever lived. Why in the world does he have a swing coach? Why?
Right.
Because he knows that coach is going to see things in his swing that he can't see or feel. And it's the same thing with this. From a sales and marketing perspective, we're going to see things and hear things and be able to communicate things in ways that are different, because we're not internal. We're not inside the problem. We're not inside what's going on. We're outside. And it's really valuable to have that on a regular basis for companies. So
I always saw that too, as like coaching, but also more or less support from anything, like the top athletes, right? Like your coach, to be the best, right? You're going to listen to your coach when it comes to, like, say your main focus is, hey, driving, clients revenue, booking loads, make sure carrier sales, all these things like that go with it. But if you don't have a good strength coach, you know what I mean? Like if your coach you listen to when it comes to the X's and O's of what you're doing business wise, but you got to have a good strength coach, right? You got to have a good trainer. You got to have a good, a lot of that comes with it. And that's what makes people that much better. And they know not much about it. And the coach may know nothing about it, right? So you bring in an expert to do that. And that's what takes those people to the next level. Because, Tiger Woods had a trainer. He had a swing coach. He had all different types of things that he would do and work with. And he would, if you remember correctly too, he's a great example too, because he would consult with those people for a long time. He didn't just come in and be like, the guy's like, hey, turn your right thumb over. That worked. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, he had coaches for 4 or 5 years at a time on average. Yeah. And by the way, let me just let you know, Jen loves when we use sports analogies.
Yeah.
Once you know that. She loves it.
I like to play sports. I don't like to watch it. So then I just zone out when they talk about it. It's fine.
I want to hear Coleman. And there's no easy way to word this. I don't mean any offense by this, because there's no way to word this correctly. But
can't wait to hear this.
Give us an idea exactly what do you do as VP of operations?
What do you know what I mean?
Like, what is it that? Because when you look at a consulting group, or you look at VP of operations, you're going, that looks like a nice role. We know he knows his stuff. What exactly does he do there though? Like, what is he doing? You know what I mean? Not in a bad way, but
he keeps
can I take a stab at this? I'll take a stab at this real quick. I'm pretty sure he's Trey's swing coach.
He's just he's a babysitter. He makes sure Trey shows up places on time.
What it is?
Really hard.
Yeah, like I mean,
we know it's an important role. I just to kind of give us an idea. VP operations kind of big.
Yeah, completely valid. I think both Trey and I agree with this, that titles really don't mean a whole lot. I think that you can go into organizations and somebody's doing the same role that this person's doing this, and they're just like a senior executive and this person's like an account manager or whatever it ends up being. So in terms of title, it's a title. That's it. I think that Trey would also agree with me that I am a sounding board, and I am I'm a process person. So love this to death. And again, I think Trey would agree with me. He is very much an ideas guy, right? Like he's like, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this, let's implement this. Let's all of these things that I firmly believe a leader of a company needs to be. And I think that you need to have somebody on your right hand or left hand, whatever your dominant hand is, that says, okay, this is a good idea. Let's do this. This idea, okay, decent idea, but let's put it a little bit on the back burner and make sure that it's something that we actually want to do. Or in this case, yeah, this isn't a good idea. This isn't what we want to do. So I think Tony actually put it pretty well. I don't want to say swing coach because his golf game is way freaking better than mine. So it would always be the opposite. But I would say it's almost like a checks and balances type of thing. That's how I would really describe it is, hey, you've got the idea. I'm going to figure it out. Let's implement it somehow, or just say, no, let's not do that.
Do I get a crack at this as well? Can I input some?
Yeah, real quick though. I think that's huge because I'm glad that you said that. I was hoping that's what it was, and I figured that's what it was because I've always talked about it. In the past, a lot of my success came from the core group of leaders we had when I first started. There were 4 of us that just every day at 5 o'clock we'd meet in one of our offices and sit down and talk. And hey, I was thinking about this. No, don't go that way with it. And like we were constantly, and as much as you want to look back, and then when you go out on your own, everybody's like, oh, you know what you're doing. We're hiring you. You're going to do this all of this. You know what I mean? And it's like you could do that, right? And as much as you don't want to say like you needed somebody, at the end of the day, you watch some of these people out here that have their own, and it's just them. You don't even know anything about any of their employees, if they even have any employees, because you just see their face every time on everything, and and you wonder to yourself, could they be bigger? Could they grow better if they had, somebody that was right there with them? But it takes a humility, I think, to allow that and be smart enough to allow that to happen without saying, well, I don't want anybody to take my place or to think I'm not in charge.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a good point. And I'll add to that. I think the best way to think of Coleman and I is we have unified vision on like our strategy and what we're doing with very different skill sets and approaches, and that's really helpful because he's everything that I'm not, and I think a little bit of vice versa. Although he can probably do a lot of stuff I can do, he can clearly MC in my place. So there's things he can do that are the same. But honestly, like when we think about what we do, our goal is to help clients drive more sales and more revenue opportunities, have a better organization, a better team. He's every bit as good a consultant and ideas guy as I am, but he's also very process oriented, and that helps out a lot because he's able to do some of the things that I just stink at. Like, could I do them? Yeah, I could do them, but they'll take longer. They won't be as good, and it'll drain the energy out of me. So by having him where he loves processes, that gives him energy, and he provides that for our clients. Where I love ideas and creativity, and that gives me energy and gives a lot of value for our clients. So we're able to work together in a way that's very complimentary and a lot of fun. And he's just one of my best friends. So it just kind of all works together that we get to do that for our clients together. But he's definitely the glue that holds everything together. He keeps things on track. He definitely tables ideas that I have and say, okay, we'll talk about that in a month and see if it's still a good idea, see if you still want to do it. And it's good for me to have somebody like that. So I knew that if I was going to be successful, I had to have a great number 2. And Coleman is like, there's just nobody better. I mean, he's phenomenal.
So you're the Jesse Cole.
Yeah,
Probably.
there we go. Bringing it back.
Here's Jared.
Yeah, that's probably actually.
Thanks.
My dad always kind of talked about this. So he's won 9 state championships. After coach of the year, many state coach of the year. Actually had a Division III national championship too as well when he went to the collegiate level as a coach on track and field, and he had been it for a long time. And I remember asking him kind of towards when he was retiring. I said, Dad, what made you such a good coach? Just the years, the experience? He goes, no, it's the people around me. And he said, the cool part was once I got the head coaching job at the right school and had the resources. He's like, I went out and got Terry Milt, my sprint coach, best sprint coach I've ever known that's been around. And and he went and got Betcher, who's now was defensive coordinator for the Cardinals. He was his throws coach one year when they won, and like a bunch of people like that. And he's like, and what that does is it allows me. And he only did like 1 or 2 even news interviews. He'd have them do them, And he was like, he's just very, very humble. I mean, half of the state championship photos, he's got his shut up and fish hat on. Like he's pure him. He's never going to change, but. It allowed him, though, to be out there and run from one corner of the track to the other on the infield, right? To make, and be able to buzz around and shake hands and talk to the ADs and go to school meetings. He knew we were going to be successful, but he couldn't have done it without solid assistant coaches. and he never ever called them assistant coaches. He said that's my sprint coach. That's my distance coach. And so he would say that sometimes. I'd be like, well, what do you coach then? He's like, the vision.
Yeah.
I mean, the outlook of the team.
I mean, it sounds like recruiting is really important is what it sounds like, but all that to say, like when we work with customers, like, let me give you an example. Like I know sales pretty well. Sales is somewhat universal, but I've only sat in a broker sales seat for 6 months of my life. Most of mine was as a vendor, technology or service or something like that. So I feel much more comfortable and more qualified, and I feel more valuable when I'm working with those clients. When we're working with freight brokerage clients, I can help a little bit. But Coleman sat in that seat for 6 years, three and a half years, and then trained. So he did that. So we bring a little something different to the game. He also has the recruiting background, so we're able to help with in that area as well. I'm able to help quite a bit on trade show because I spent my whole life at trade shows, and I think about that a lot. So we just have a lot of complementary pieces that work together. But at the end of the day, like, he's absolutely right. He's a process guy. I'm an ideas guy, and it works really well.
That's awesome. That's the culture that I've always talked about at Lippert, where we were always trying to build up leaders. And, the problem with that is
they're so good too. Jeez.
There's 75 plants or 100 plants or 200, and they're all over the world. So not every plant or microculture in that sense is on the same path. They're all on I say that wrong. They're all on the same path. They're not as far down the path in each one. So you can go to one place and have a great experience, and you can go to another place and have a terrible experience, but realize they're still on that same path. And that's part of what helped me when I made the jump to Maclay's, is because I was looking for that same kind of culture and development and build up. And it was really hard to find, especially switching teams, going from shipper to broker. Finding that culture somewhere I've known Eric and Mark for probably 4 years now. I met them right about when I met TJ. And it's crazy to think that. And it's just been a constant encouragement in the background. And what sold me was Mark posted this farewell to one of his best people. And he's like, man, I am so sad to see this person leave, but I'm so happy that we built them into somebody who could take on this next step, who we can't compete with, and they're going to go and fly. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the sign of a great leader.
Yeah.
And
he is one.
I gotta.
He reminds me a lot of Trey too. You notice that, Tony?
What?
Him and Trey look kind of alike.
Mark Ross.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
Just look a little bit
about
alike.
it? I don't know if it's just
At a
me.
glance.
Well, if we're in person,
hair.
we definitely need to work on his hair, but he's definitely taller than I am. I mean, most people are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hey guys, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it. Tony, thanks for holding down the spot on Word on the Street. I appreciate that. That worked out well for everybody. But
thanks for taking your
Trey reached out to me day one when we said we were coming back on, and we wanted to collaborate on some TGIF things. We come up with some funny stuff, but we're all pretty busy, so we're just doing what we can to piece it together. But this just goes to show, guys, that no matter what you're doing and how you're doing it, when you collaborate with people, whether or not they're doing the same exact thing as you or not, there's a benefit to it. You know what I mean? You got to go with somebody you trust and can work with. But if you could do that, then it's a win-win. And there's too many people that try to keep everything, too close to the chest, I think. And when you expand out a little bit, you start to find those people. And that's what true networking really is.
Hey, thanks for having us.
We didn't even need the whole show. Just cut that last part. Keep the TMSA stuff in there, and then cut the last part, and then you got a whole episode right there. That's perfect summation.
I spew gold. That's what I do. So, all right, guys. Thanks for coming on, man. We'll see you guys next week.
Hey, congrats from back on the air. Excited to be on Fridays with you guys. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.